What if the woman you're falling for, laughing with, texting late into the night, dreaming about, was quietly dismantling your future? What if behind the charm, the soft voice, and the playful eyes there were signs? Subtle, easy to miss, but devastating if ignored. In 2025, the game has changed. The rules of love, loyalty, and partnership have been rewritten by modern pressures, digital illusions, and shifting expectations. And the cost of not paying attention? It's higher than ever. Today, we're going deeper than the cliches. This isn't about surface-level dating advice or social media trends. This is about patterns, psychological, emotional, even evolutionary patterns, that reveal truths modern men must see to protect their future. By the end of this video, you won't just spot red flags, you'll understand what they really mean. Because sometimes, a red flag doesn't wave, it whispers. Let's begin. In a quiet coffee shop in downtown Chicago, early spring of 2025, a man named Ethan sat across from someone he once thought was the one. It was their final conversation, though neither of them knew it yet. The cappuccino steamed between them untouched. Her laughter echoed through his memory, but now it rang hollow. She was saying something about boundaries, about needing space, about how things just felt off. But Ethan's mind wasn't on her words. It was racing backward, weeks, months, trying to pinpoint the moment the change happened. He didn't see the signs, or maybe he did, but he wanted her so badly he ignored them. This story isn't unique. In fact, it's becoming disturbingly common. The modern dating world is not the same jungle your father or grandfather navigated. It's a maze of curated personas, dopamine loops, feminist rhetoric, traditional expectations, and vanishing accountability. And in this maze, some women have learned to camouflage red flags as personality traits, as standards, as empowerment. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Men lose years, finances, even their mental health, not because they met the wrong woman, but because they refuse to recognize the signs in time. Some of the most dangerous red flags don't come screaming in the beginning. They come softly, in small habits, in subtle shifts, in phrases like "my ex was crazy" or "you should be lucky I chose you." These aren't coincidences, they're early warnings.
And yet how many men overlook them because she's beautiful? Because the chemistry is real?
Because he's been told to never judge, never question, never lead. We've been conditioned by media, by modern culture, to dismiss male instincts, to shame discernment as insecurity. But here's the truth. Ignoring your gut doesn't make you noble. It makes you vulnerable. And the consequences? They're real. A red flag can destroy a career. It can cost you your children. It can leave you picking up pieces of your dignity after a courtroom battle you never saw coming. But it can also be as simple as the slow erosion of your confidence, your dreams, your peace. That's why understanding these signs is not just about love, it's about survival. Imagine this, it's 2:47 a.m., you're wide awake, staring at your phone. She hasn't texted back, your chest tightens. You replay the dinner, the argument, her cold stare, her sudden decision to walk out without explanation. You keep thinking, maybe I was too harsh. Maybe I should have just agreed. Maybe if I prove myself more. Stop. This exact moment is what red flags are designed to create. Confusion, self-doubt, emotional submission, and the longer you stay, the more you rationalize what your spirit is trying to warn you about. One of the most critical red flags in 2025 is emotional manipulation disguised as independence. You'll hear her say, "I don't need a man," but somehow expect you to pay the bills. She'll demand equality until it's time for accountability. She'll tell you she's healing, that she's in her soft girl era, yet her exes line up like warning signs on a battlefield. And yet, her Instagram paints a perfect portrait. Don't be fooled by filters. Don't mistake performance for character. Take Marcus, a software engineer in Austin. He met someone who seemed like everything he ever prayed for. Ambitious, beautiful, witty. But 6 months in, he found himself financially supporting her while she job-hopped through passion projects. Every disagreement turned into gaslighting. Every boundary he set became an accusation. You're controlling. You're insecure. You're toxic. In truth, he was none of those things. He just wanted peace, respect, a partnership. But what he had was a one-man show where he played the role of provider, therapist, and villain, all at once. Marcus's story ended with bankruptcy, not just financial, emotional. And when she left him, she said, I just need a man who can handle a strong woman. But strength doesn't look like destruction. Independence doesn't feed on others. And love, real love, never makes you feel smaller just so someone else can feel bigger. Here's what's happening in 2025. The lines between authenticity and performance are vanishing. Many women are being taught to view relationships not as sacred but as transactions. And men are paying the price in silence. The red flags are evolving. They're sharper, hidden behind therapy buzzwords, TikTok trends, and self-love mantras. But at their core, they still serve the same purpose: control. Ask yourself, have you ever been with someone who made you feel like you were always one mistake away from being unloved? Who made you explain your masculinity like it was a crime? Who turned your kindness into weakness and your ambition into a threat? These aren't flaws, they're patterns. And now we've reached the part most people won't tell you. Not every red flag is about her. Sometimes they're about you. About the parts of you that crave validation more than truth. About your fear of being alone. About your fantasy of who she could be, not the reality of who she is. These blind spots, they're the real danger. Because when you're not whole, you don't see clearly. And in that fog, even the brightest red flags look romantic. But clarity begins now. What comes next will challenge you. Because the truth isn't always pretty, but it is powerful. Are you ready to see the first sign? The first sign emerges quietly. It wears confidence like armor, but it's laced with poison. She mocks men in general conversation, calling them weak, calling them useless, then tells you with a smile, "But you're different." It seems like a compliment. It's not. It's a setup. She needs a man to feel exceptional just to tolerate him. But that's the trap. Exceptional becomes exhausting. You spend your days performing, proving, pleasing, until you break. And when you do, she'll say, "You changed." No, you didn't. You just stopped pretending. That's when the punishment begins. Emotional coldness, sudden distance, even public shaming. This red flag is disguised as empowerment, but it's really contempt. A deep ingrained belief that men exist to serve and suffer. You won't recognize it at first because it'll be wrapped in humor, in sass, in just being real. But listen closely to how she speaks about men, her father, her ex, her male friends. Are they all villains in her story? If so, ask yourself why. Because if every man in her life is the problem, the common denominator isn't them. The second sign is spiritual manipulation. In 2025, spirituality has become currency, and some women use it to craft a holy image while hiding unholy intentions. She'll quote scripture, light sage, talk about energy, healing, divine femininity. She'll say she's on a journey, and you'll be captivated by her mystery. But underneath the crystals and candles may be unresolved rage, a desire for control, a bitterness that dresses itself in peace. This isn't to say spiritual women are red flags, but when a woman uses faith or metaphysics to avoid accountability, to justify broken behavior while claiming "the universe told me to," you're dealing with a manipulator, not a mystic. She doesn't want connection, she wants compliance. The third sign is the subtle erasure of your identity. It begins with a joke. "You really wear that shirt?" Then a complaint. "You're always busy with that hobby." Then a demand masked as concern. "Why do you still talk to your friends so much?" One by one, the things that made you whole get chipped away. You'll find yourself changing, compromising, shrinking. Not because you're growing, but because you're being managed. She'll say she's helping you evolve. What she's really doing is reprogramming you into someone more manageable. Someone quieter, less ambitious, less you. This red flag thrives in relationships where men mistake peace for silence. She may not yell, she may not fight, but her control is surgical, cold, calculated. And by the time you realize who you've become, you barely recognize yourself in the mirror. The fourth sign is perhaps the most dangerous: selective loyalty. She says she supports you, but only when it's convenient. When you're successful, she claps, but when you fail, she claps, but when you fail, she disappears, or worse, she shames. Her loyalty is tied to outcomes, not character, and it's often conditional on her own emotional weather. You'll see it during conflict. If she turns every disagreement into a referendum on your worth, if she threatens to leave just to win arguments or uses silence as a weapon, you're not in love. You're being emotionally blackmailed. And in 2025, this form of red flag has evolved into a game of psychological warfare. Women who view relationships as leverage rather than loyalty are playing chess while you're still thinking you're dancing. They anticipate your moves, predict your reactions, and set traps you don't even realize you've fallen into, until it's too late. Now imagine this. You're sitting with her family trying to be respectful. She throws a jab. He's not usually this quiet, must be nervous. Everyone laughs, you smile. But inside you feel like a boy. Small. Embarrassed. That's the fifth red flag. Public humiliation in disguise. It's subtle, backhanded. Always just enough to make you question yourself, but never enough to call out. She'll claim, I was just playing. But when it happens over and over in front of friends, in front of family, in front of strangers, it's not play. It's power. And if you call it out, she'll flip the script. You're too sensitive. No, you're just waking up. The sixth sign is emotional unavailability wrapped in high standards. She says she's looking for real connection, yet she never shares anything vulnerable. She demands honesty but gives you deflection. She insists on emotional maturity but stonewalls when things get hard. This woman has built walls so high not even sunlight gets in. But instead of admitting her fear of intimacy, she blames the world for not measuring up. Her expectations are skyscrapers. Her patience is a matchstick. And while you're trying to build something real, she's only waiting to be impressed. You'll never be enough, not because you lack value, but because she doesn't know how to receive it. And the more you try, the more you bleed. By now you may be wondering, is there hope? Are all modern women like this? No. But in an age where social validation often trumps self-reflection, red flags can flourish undetected. And men, raised to suppress instincts and avoid conflict, often tolerate what they should be confronting. Because here's the truth. What you tolerate today will become your prison tomorrow. We still have 4 signs left. And the final ones, they go even deeper. They speak not just to your relationships, but to your legacy. Let's keep going. The 7th red flag is what we call chameleon behavior. She shifts her personality to fit every new crowd, every new man, every new opportunity. One day she's the sweet, quiet girl next door. The next she's wild, edgy, rebellious. Not because she's exploring herself, but because she's still empty, still unformed. Her identity is a mask collection, and she's worn so many she doesn't know who she is without someone else defining her. This kind of woman can seem exciting at first. She mirrors your dreams. She says all the right things. She seems perfect. Too perfect. But over time, something strange happens. Her stories don't add up. Her values shift without explanation. Her moods are unpredictable. She becomes a stranger you keep trying to understand. But the more you try, the more you realize there's nothing solid there to hold on to. Just reflections, just shadows. This red flag is rooted in deep insecurity, and it becomes your responsibility to constantly affirm her, validate her, rescue her, build her identity for her. And the moment you stop, she moves on, looking for her next mirror. The 8th red flag comes clothed in trauma. And here, we tread carefully. Because pain is real. Trauma is real. We all carry wounds. But in 2025, trauma has also become a kind of currency, used not for healing, but for control. This woman tells you she's broken. She makes you feel like a hero for loving her anyway. But slowly, your role changes. You're no longer a partner, you're her therapist, her savior, her emotional punching bag. And when she lashes out, when she sabotages, when she shuts down completely, she tells you, this is just my trauma. And so you excuse it, over and over. Because you think love means saving someone from their past. But love isn't rescue, and trauma isn't an excuse to destroy others. If you find yourself constantly managing someone's emotional damage while your own needs disappear, that's not healing. That's self-erasure, and it's a trap far too many good men fall into, because they mistake pity for love and martyrdom for masculinity. The 9th red flag is obsession with status. She's not in love with you, she's in love with your image, with the idea of you. With how you look next to her in photos, with the vacations, with the lifestyle, with the story. But if you lost it all tomorrow, your income, your success, your influence, would she still be there? In the age of Instagram, relationships are often built more for the timeline than for time itself. Ask yourself, does she ask about your souls or your salary? Does she light up when you speak your truth, or only when you're winning? If her affection is tied to your performance, then it's not affection. It's ambition wearing lipstick. And when that ambition dries up, she will vanish. Or worse, she'll turn on you, because the moment you no longer serve her social elevation, you become dead weight. And she'll drop you like a brand deal gone wrong. And now the 10th and final red flag, the most invisible yet the most powerful. She doesn't believe in men. Not in a loud feminist protest on the street kind of way, no. This disbelief is quieter, more subtle. You'll hear it in how she doubts your ideas, how she questions your leadership, how she treats your masculinity as something to be tamed rather than respected. It's not just about you, it's about her worldview. Somewhere along the way, she was taught that men are either predators or fools, that men are meant to be feared, managed, outsmarted, or shamed. And while she may smile, while she may even love, there is always a hidden edge to her words. A suspicion, a power struggle, a refusal to let a man lead, not because he's unworthy, but because she's been trained to believe no man ever is. This red flag is the most dangerous because it's rooted in a worldview that poisons every relationship she touches. And if you stay long enough, you'll start to believe her. You'll question your strength, you'll doubt your worth, you'll forget what it means to be a man. So what do you do with this knowledge? You sharpen your vision. You trust your instincts. You reclaim your standards. In a world where red flags have become part of the decor, you must refuse to decorate your life with danger and call it love. Don't hate women, don't fear them, but do discern them. Not every beautiful face carries a beautiful soul. Not every sweet voice sings of peace. You are not paranoid for protecting yourself. You are not toxic for having boundaries. You are not a villain for walking away from a woman who doesn't honor your worth. Somewhere out there are women of grace, of strength, of softness without manipulation. They exist, but you'll never find them if your hands are full of red flags you mistook for roses. Conclusion, slow, reflective tone. Let's end with a question. What if the greatest act of love you can give isn't to a woman, but to yourself? What if your future children, your purpose, your peace, and all depend on your ability to say, "This isn't for me," even when your heart is aching? In 2025, the strongest men won't be the richest or the loudest or the most admired. They'll be the ones who saw the signs and chose freedom over fantasy. Because sometimes walking away is the bravest kind of love there is. If this video woke something up in you, share it. Comment. Let your voice be part of a new movement, one where men rise not in bitterness but in truth. Until next time, stay sharp, stay grounded, stay whole,